Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Adam, how you doing? I'm super happy to talk to you.
Oh, good. I'm here to fulfill your pasty white Canadian quotient.
I don't know how this happened.
Adam is Canadian too?
Adam is Canadian too. The 2+2 poker cast.
That fucking bet again.
Adam, we got a question.
I have a question for you.
There you go.
Who is, in your opinion, the biggest poker superstar? Hang on, but before you answer, Brandon, do you want action? Bearing in mind that we took the poker room manager of New Orleans, Louisiana, or
I'm up money.
what's that?
That's my stakes. I am up money. Well, I'm just saying I am up money in my poker adventures on the site. But you guys are gonna have to lay me odds now.
Oh Jesus!
We're laying you 2-1 every single
You're-
time.
You know, it's already flawed because we've said Canadian too many times. It's already flawed. I mean, just ask him.
Okay,
anyhow, but
no
it's already
bet.
flawed.
If you had to say who's the biggest superstar in the poker superstar in the world, Adam?
In the world, see, I need parameters. Like, are we talking?
There's no
about-
parameters. It's you set your own parameters in your head.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with the guy I think most people know in the world, and that is Phil Hellmuth.
Ah,
That
that would have been a push. We've been betting this entire podcast, asking everyone. Not only have we been asking all of our guests, but we actually called 5 poker rooms and asked the same question. And me and Kevin were betting our $50 versus Brandon's $25 on the answer, with us having Daniel Negreanu
Okay.
and him having Phil Ivey.
He has Phil Ivey.
Yeah, and we were getting crushed early on,
Hey,
but
but then they're Canadians. I got Greg FBT Mueller, who of course is going to go into Granu, and then I just had Ryan Dempster, who's born pitcher for the Texas Rangers, who's born in Canada and an avid poker player. This guy. He's a pitcher. Do you know who Ryan Dempster is?
Of course, sure.
Okay. He's telling us on the phone he plays Raz, and I mean I've never even known of a mixed game pitcher. Plays Raz, he plays Stud, he plays Omaha. I mean, were you guys a little shocked caught off guard when he said that?
I heard when he said Badoogie. Didn't he say Badoogie?
no, I added that in at the end
okay.
just as a joke.
Ryan Dempster, this is a little known fact, was before he was traded the best deuce to 7 triple draw player in the clubhouse.
Like, he's probably the only deuce to 7 triple out there.
I was gonna when I was doing that at the end about how I was such a big fan of his because he plays Raz and Badoogie. I was going to say Badinglaha instead of Badoogie, but I wasn't sure if I would just sound like an idiot, so I let it go. Anyway, Adam Schwartz, for those of you that don't know, I'm one of the owners at Vegas Poker Radio. We have a network of podcasts, and I don't make it a habit of endorsing podcasts that aren't on our network because I really believe in the product that we put out there.
I'm a majority owner too.
Brandon is as well. So if I were to honestly answer the question of who puts out the absolute best poker-driven content podcast on the internet, with the exception of me, not saying that I do, but I'm disqualifying myself from it because it would be too biased, I would absolutely say it was Adam Schwartz. His podcast is phenomenal. The 2+2 PokerCast with him and Mike Johnson. I've been a big fan of that show for a long time, and I really thank you for joining us, Adam.
Well, you're too kind. We've had this conversation with other podcasters before, and so much of podcasting, especially with poker, is just kind of showing up. Like, it's just one of those things that you've got to love to do it, and clearly that I've been listening to your guys' show here, and you guys, your heart's in the right place, and you're obviously enjoying this. So, and it shows.
Let me ask you this: prior to the explosion that happened with Mason Malmuth and Daniel Negreanu promoting this particular podcast, have you ever heard of Filthy Limper Radio?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. I'm a poker podcast fan myself. I listen to other shows to get.
What podcast do you listen to, if you don't mind me asking?
What ones do I listen to?
Yeah.
I don't listen to too many others regularly these days. I've sort of been busy away from poker, in the last couple of years. But before, I would listen to. I never really, other than Poker Road, I didn't get to be a faithful listener of too many. I would just sort of listen to some here and there. Definitely Quad Jacks during the Black Friday stuff. Hayball, I think I listened to. Joe Tall's a friend of mine, and some others. But I do listen to intermittently. I'll pick and choose one to listen to, just to kind of get a glimpse on what other people are doing, because there's some great stuff out there. And we do our show every week up here in Vancouver, and you kind of get detached a little bit from the poker world, so to speak. So it's nice to just kind of listen to what other people are doing.
Now, Adam, I'm kind of curious how you got started with 2+2 doing their podcast. Was that something that you approached them with, or was that something that they approached you with?
It's a pretty good story, actually, yeah. So I'm one of the very first members of 2+2. I posted there right from the beginning. I think I'm like member number 400 and something. And so when we started doing our show, and it kind of morphs into how we started our show. And for those that don't know, in 2004, 2005, there was a hockey strike, an NHL hockey lockout or strike. I can't remember which. I think it was a lockout. And up here in Canada, you have to understand that most of the programming on radio and television is hockey related, right? I mean, this country is about hockey, and so they started putting a lot of poker on television on our sister station of ESPN, which is called TSN, and I think there was another one at the time, other Sportsnet networks. So the Canadian public got inundated with television poker for a period of time, and my friend Mike Johnson, who co-hosts my show, and he's a professional broadcaster, was doing a show on sports radio up here on Hockey Day, on Saturday night hockey. We up here Saturdays in Canada is about hockey. We watch hockey from sort of lunch till dinner, and Mike was doing a radio show that coincided with the games that were on that day, previewing them, all that kind of stuff. So he didn't have anything to do because, of course, the hockey strike's coming along, and we were out one night in the bar, and I said, with all this poker stuff on, why don't we pitch them a poker podcast, and we'll see what happens. And we thought the strike or the lockout would last a couple of months, and we'd have the show 6, 7, 8 times. We'll have some fun with it. We pitched it to the station, and they agreed. So we went from there, and I think our first show, it was hilarious. I mean, I would literally wrote down every question and every word. We had Negranu, Greg Raymer, and somebody else. I think Mike Sexton. I can't remember. But I wrote down every question. You can tell literally that I'm reading it word for word, and I was just nervous as hell. But it was a lot of fun. Anyway, this is a big, long, roundabout way of saying that the station we were on got the rights to the Vancouver Canucks, and instead of letting us do it for free on Sundays at 11 o'clock at night, they started charging us for the time, because they got the local hockey team here and decided that they were going to up the rates for everybody. So we, I think, and after about 5 or 6 podcasts, one of our listeners emailed me and said, after 5 or 6 radio shows on terrestrial radio, one of our listeners emailed me and said, you guys should podcast the show. And I had to Google what podcast was. I had no idea what that was. So I figured it out, and then we started podcasting the show pretty much right away. I think we were either the first or the second poker podcast out there. I think Ante Up might have been out there, which is another one I've listened to before. And Poker Wire might have just started after us or just before us. I can't remember. But anyway, not long into it, we started seeing our numbers for our downloads from iTunes were going, really well. And we're on this, late night radio station. They wanted to charge us $500 for the half hour, and it didn't seem like a good idea to us. So we just said, screw it, we'll podcast the show. And I was a member at 2+2, and I thought, you know what, I'll go over there and talk to them. And prior to this, I had been advertising in NVG, and what the policies, of course, have long changed. In the remaining years, as you guys found out.
We're intimately aware of the policies of NVG.
Anyway, I used to spam, I guess, in NVG saying, "Hey, we've got this person on our radio show tonight. Send us some questions." This is, and nobody ever did anything about it. The site was small at the time, and then Mason found it one day and banned me. and I happened to be in Vegas. I think I was there for the World Series or something, and I texted them and I said, or I phoned them and I said, "Hey guys, let me come in and talk about why I got banned." And I went into the offices and met them, and we went for lunch, and everything was cleared up, and I pitched to Mason. I said, why don't we bring the show over to 2+2? We're just kind of podcasting this thing, and you can bring another dimension to the website, and the advertising guy at the time said this would be a great sell to one of the major poker sites. PokerStars was generous enough to jump on board right away, and we've been partners ever since. I guess that's kind of the long story.
I just realized we actually have two poker podcasting legends on at the same time. I'm not sure. Adam, have you ever been acquainted with Brandon Gerson? He's been somewhat of a poker podcast mercenary who has
Donktown?
Yes, I was a part of Donktown for many years.
Yeah, I remember your voice. Yeah, no, I've listened to Donktown for sure.
He was there, and now he hosts Filthy Limper Radio along with me and Kevin, as well as the Druff, Drexel, and Val show on PokerFraudAlert.com.
Nice to formally meet you, Adam. I don't think we've ever met before.
No, and Dan Druff I've listened to for a long time and respect him.
I'm curious, Adam, who you've interviewed tons and tons of people. Has there ever been an interview that you've done that's just gone horribly wrong, and you either just pissed somebody off and it got because I know we've done some interviews here that have gotten, I don't want to say like where they've just gotten a little bit blown out of proportion, maybe, I don't know, but have you had an incident where you've maybe asked a regrettable question or decided that you were going to go somewhere with a guest to get the best story, and it's resulted in a negative experience?
I can't. So basically, what you're asking is bad guests. I guess the one we had, or there's a few that I don't know about bad, but unfortunate sort of timing incidents. We had Tom Dwan on early, kind of in his career, and there was a mix-up of times when it was supposed to happen, and we had him on, and he'd actually jumped out at his dinner to kind of talk on the phone, but a few minutes into it, he's like, how long is this thing gonna go? And he didn't really, and back then I don't think he was as talkative or as comfortable with media as he has become, so that one really didn't go too well. There's one that I can think of. Jennifer Harmon was really difficult to interview. She for whatever reason, maybe we caught her on a bad day, but you'd ask sort of leading questions as interviewers do, and the answer is no, that kind of thing, and it's like, oh god, this isn't going to go well. And let's see, what else did we we sort of have this famous story on we interviewed Jeffrey Pollock one time, right at the beginning. Came over from the NBA, or was it no, he went to Bull Riders. He came from the NBA, right?
You just broke up a little bit on us, Adam. We use Skype for our interviews, and sometimes it's not the best product. So if you could just repeat the last sentence you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we had Jeffrey Pollock on when he first came over to poker as the World Series Poker Commissioner, and it's sort of a famous, funny story on our show. We were talking to him, and Mike said to him, Jeffrey, what do you know about poker up here in Canada? We sort of have this history of people coming over to games we love from other sports and destroying them. And he was referring to Gary Bettman, who'd come over from basketball. And then Jeffrey Pollock says, well, Gary Bettman is my brother. So that was sort of a foot in mouth type kind of thing where we went, oh God, we just kind of screwed up there pretty badly. But he was
Adam, I once had on my former show Coolio singing a rendition of Gangster's Paradise live a cappella on the radio, under the impression that he was
his song?
I'm sorry?
That it was his song originally?
Yeah, you know, are you familiar with Coolio?
Yeah, big Coolio fan. But it wasn't his song though, right?
I mean, whose song was "Gangster's Paradise"?
I don't think he wrote it. He did a rendition, didn't he?
What, you mean "Gangster's Paradise" was a remake?
I could be wrong there. I've heard other people do it. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's his song, and anyhow, we had him on there rapping it a cappella, under the impression that he was soon to receive an offer to star in Dangerous Minds 2 alongside Whitney Houston in a sequel to. Do you remember the movie? Obviously, Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer,
Sure.
and in this movie, Coolio and his love interest Whitney Houston were in a school filled with white meth heads and drug addicts that they went in and were, kind of gonna just change them and get them better. And that led to me receiving. And once he realized a few days later via Twitter that there was no Dangerous Minds 2 script and we were not a radio station based out of Bakersfield, California, I received death threats from Coolio on my cell phone the next morning.
Did you tape him?
I have him still. I love it. It's you've arrived when you wake up in Las Vegas at 3 in the afternoon and you see death threats from Coolio on your cell phone. You have arrived in the podcast world.
Now that's a podcast. Adam, I really thank you for joining us. I know we have we're nowhere near the size of 2+2, not even close. But our listener base is about
close.
It's about as loyal a group of people as you'll ever come across, and they're a very they're very defensive of us. And with the stuff with 2+2, we've had almost all of our users just preparing to unleash fury and to just make it like the movie. It's like the movie 300, where they're just ready to stand at the cliff, and I just want everybody listening to know
that would be a great Photoshop if Mason's on the big head of Mason on the other side of those 300 guys.
Yeah, right. That's kind of the best analogy I can come up with it for. But I want everybody listening to know that despite all of that, if you want to hear more podcasting, I highly recommend you check out the 2+2 PokerCast, because it's a phenomenal program, and you're not going to get much better poker podcasting than that. And we really appreciate you.
Do they directly make 2+2 money? Like, if I listen, is that in any way putting money in Mason Mallamy's pocket?
No, I wouldn't say that it directly does by any stretch. But hey, I want to apologize for that stuff. I don't obviously speak for all of 2+2, but I hope that the bridges were mended somewhat with apologies, and the way that it was dealt with originally wasn't acceptable for sure.
Oh, well, we appreciate you saying that. Absolutely, Adam. And thank you very much for coming on and joining us and spending a little bit of time with us. It's really appreciated, and we thank you for bridging the gap and coming over and being a part of this show despite the issues that had happened. And I just want everybody to know that Adam is cool in my book. He's a good guy, and definitely give him a listen. So.
And tell us, for those that aren't familiar, when is it on? Times, days?
It's not live. It's pre-recorded, right?
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
We don't live. We record Tuesday nights and release on iTunes on Wednesday and in our forum. If you
don't mind me asking, every radio show that I've been a part of, and it's been quite a few, we've done just the opposite. We've done it live, and obviously we've released the next day on Stitcher and iTunes. Why do you do it that way? What is the reason for it?
We record. We're kind of out in the West Coast, and we have a lot of East Coast guests and stuff. So we tend to record the show out of order a lot of times. We'll do an interview because it's back east, and we have our studio time is from sort of 8 p.m. Pacific to midnight. So we need to get the East Coast guys on right away and the West Coast. So if we did it live, it would be completely sort of, we wouldn't do the first segment first of our show. We do an interview first. It wouldn't be in the order that we want it to be in.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah, so that's sort of the main issue with our show.
Well, Adam, it's been fun. Thank you for sharing some stories with us. We really appreciate it. And
tell 22 people. He's got to tell.
Yeah, make sure you let 22 people know about 22Q.
I will send it out on Twitter right now. Hopefully that'll be more than 22.
That's amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, guys. Good luck. Have a good day.
Alrighty. That was Adam Schwartz. Nice guy. He really wanted to come on. And
see, it's hard to hate 2+2, even when there's like this dictator, but everyone like the other little small pieces around it are nice like that. And
yeah, but we can still hate Mason and not hate 2+2, right?
But it's so weird to me. I feel that's why I asked him, but I just feels like there's something wrong for me to go on that site and listen to something that is a part of it that has that name in it. I mean, that's just how I feel.
I understand that feeling completely.
Maybe I shouldn't feel that way because the guy sounds great, and I'm sure it's a great product. Maybe I should just.
Well, I mean, him, Kev Math, they're all big parts of this show so far, and I guess in spite of who's at the helm, the people there, there's still some good people over there. I guess that would be the point.
When Granu said it last night that all empires will fall.
Yeah, and
remember that quote last night?
I thought that my 300 reference was pretty good. No.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Maybe that's also. Do you think just some sort of strange reason why a poker manager in Bossier, Louisiana said King Lear? Empires, King Lear, 300. Do you kind of see a theme here, boys?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Adam knows me. I know the name Adam. I might have met him at some various functions, but never. I don't think I've ever talked to him before. So again,
Adam is sending us a message saying he'd be happy to come on and give us more insight into Mason if you want. You want to do that? I mean,
right now, or
yeah, we got time to kill unless you had something else.
Absolutely.
Well, why not? Let's fire it up. We are re-guesting for the first time.
Hey guys.
Hey Adam. Hey welcome to the 22Q charity podcast. Everybody, please welcome host of 2+2 PokerCast, Adam Schwartz.
This is actually amazing because out of every guest we've had, he is the only repeat appearance.
Yes.
That's like I'm in a special case.
Corey Zeidman asked to be a repeat appearance, and we were like, we'll get back to you.
I'll tell you what, Zeidman was one of our best interviews.
He was one of ours too, in all honesty.
Did he talk to you guys about Phil Gordon and all?
He did, yeah. We talked about the helmet.
We got the feeling he doesn't like him. On your podcast, did you guys get that feeling?
Yeah, that's the best thing about a guest like Corey is you actually get an opinion out of him, right? I mean, that's what you're looking for, and yeah, he's not big fans of a lot of people, and he doesn't mind telling it.
Yeah. Well, welcome to our show again, and this is going to be part 2.
No, I was just listening to you guys as I signed off, and I thought, you're talking about Mason and stuff, and I've got sort of, a lot of history dealing with Mason, and I can't speak to, a lot of the things. I'm not sure why I haven't, heard the reasoning behind what you guys think of him, but I'm happy to give you any insight that you might want.
We'll take it all. Go ahead.
Well, just as on a business point of view, I've had a handshake deal with him. Just to give you my perspective or whatever, I've had a handshake deal with Mason, Mike, and I for years now. For large amounts of money, and we've never ever had an issue. He's 100% professional. He doesn't have any input on our show. He doesn't you can't have this person on. You can't do this. You can't talk about that. He leaves us 100%. I doubt he even listens to it, to be honest with you. Which you can't ask for much more in a partner in that respect. He's definitely curt and abrupt and doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? I guess he doesn't sugarcoat stuff at all. He's that's his interpersonal dealings are certainly people take like he doesn't like he's a dick or whatever, but he just I guess it's his. In anyway, in my experience, it's always been, very professional and just without, I guess, a lot of, compassion, I guess, is what people are missing in some of his answers to things. But I think he's misunderstood a lot. I understand some of the criticism for sure, but I think people unfairly judge him. Daniel going off and calling him a slime ball and scumbag. He goes,
actually, if you would have listened last night, he called him a dickhead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what Mason ever did to Daniel to need a personal attack like that. Out of if he's got other reasons, maybe that's fine. But he was the whole thing with Daniel getting banned at 2+2 was he violated the policy that's been that is in place for everybody and that is now in place for everybody. So I'm not sure why he really kind of thought that he should be immune from that. It clearly he was promoting his show in that thread that he got temp banned for, and then kind of got upset about it. I don't understand the personal attack there from Daniel unless there's something else that I don't know about.
There very well could be. Can I ask you a question, Adam?
Sure,
the email that I sent that sparked the reaction from Mason, it was a two-part email. One part of it was asking about if a user posts a thread, and the second part was me asking if he could relay a message to David Skolansky, you, and Mike Johnson to invite you on the show. Was that message passed along to you from Mason or no?
It was, yeah. That was sent to all of us. Again, I read your email and his questions. He actually forwarded all of it to us right away. And again, that's a perfect example of Mason being very abrupt and short with...
Wait, I'm sorry. Back up. I'm sorry. I just trying to understand. Jason, start from the beginning. You did what?
I sent the email to the one that's been posted all over the place.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You sent it to...
I sent it to Mason, and in the email, I requested that he relay a message to Adam's co-host Mike Johnson, and David Skolansky.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Requesting if they would like to be a guest on the show. And I was just curious if Adam had gotten that from Mason or if he had read it because it was posted online.
Oh, you're trying to get Skolansky possibly to be a guest on this show?
Yes.
Okay, that would never happen.
Well, I was just extending the offer to just...
Oh, no, I mean, you probably... there's a lot of things that even go deeper than any of this.
Of course.
With me. I mean, do you even know what I'm referring to?
I know exactly what you're referring to.
That would just never hypothetically happen in any way.
Well, I mean, if we're being honest here, that part was in there as an olive branch to ask about the thread, obviously. I mean, I'm not going to lie about it.
I just wasn't sure if you knew that I had I don't know, if you want to call it a friendship, I would just say a relationship with Skolansky for a period of time.
Yeah, last I heard that you had, I thought you were mending fences there, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but, okay. We'll leave that for another day, but okay, I'm sorry. I just was confused by what you meant by that, but please go ahead. Shed some more light on Mason and the things I may not understand.
No, I did get... No, I'm not... I'm just, trying to provide a different viewpoint. I understand that a lot of people have issues with them. I'm just trying to give my experience with them. As far as that email, the email, I did get it forwarded to me. If that was the question.
Okay, that's kind of just what I was wondering, if it was just something that was.
What was your? I was not aware of this.
You read the email, Brandon?
Oh no. That's not what my question is going to be. And also, Adam, please forgive us, or at least forgive me. I've been up for a very long time, as my other two co-hosts are. So if we don't come across as being coherent or clear, it's not that we're being dismissive of you, or it's just we've been up. It's going to be 50 hours, by the time this is over. Oh shit! And this is my exact point. I just forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh my god!
Sinking in.
Wait, what was the premise of what I was saying? What were we?
Then we're talking about Mason.
I don't know, Brandon, what the premise was.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I know what it was. Okay, and one thing that I was not aware of, and that this whole situation did, is I read the thread, and I know I'm going to pronounce the name wrong again, of a well-respected mod and I'm not a 2+2. In fact, my original count was banned along with others for being a part of Donkdown back in 2007. Not for any rules or violations that we broke on the site, but for being a part of that site in which Mason deemed, which at that time, I guess I don't know what the state of it is now, was known as a free speech site with no or very limited moderation. And when I say limited moderation, only things that are illegal or against the law, et cetera, et cetera. And I know you're somewhat familiar with Donkdown and what that site was about. Sure. So, and there are other things as well as that. But with that even being said, I recently came across a thread about one of the moderators, and I guess this was about a year ago, and I just did not know about it. Name, I believe, Gregario. And
Gregario, yeah.
Okay. And I was very disturbed upon reading that thread and finding out, I knew nothing about this platform about Governor Johnson, and just reading that, I found that so hypocritical. And again, whatever you say, I'm going to respect. I have nothing against you whatsoever in the world, and I know, just as professional as I know you are, and have heard, and my partner as well, just saying only the most kindest things about you. I have no reason to believe that, but my opinion after reading that, it just smacked of just 100%. Just being a complete hypocrite. And I know the thread. I read about, I don't know, maybe 20 pages of that massive thread before I stopped. But when I read there, it just disgusted me. And although I did not know that mod, and the only thing I did know is that he was very, 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 very respected, because there were a lot of people that were very, very sad to see him go. I totally understood and agreed with his stance. And I thought it was very hypocritical of Mason, and even his logic in trying to justify it, I found it preposterous.
That he would allow a donation thread for Governor Johnson, is that what you're saying?
Well, just the whole thing in general, that he was encouraging, not just that he was allowing it, but there were posts that he was encouraging and asking members to actually donate money, and just the way it was handled and the way he was defending it, telling people that, and it's funny, going back and reading, he seems so confident, and I guess this really has nothing to do with it, that this guy was going to be elected, but, just mixing the politics in there, and basically having 2+2 endorse a candidate, and that's in all actuality what he was doing.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know maybe you don't want to discuss it. Maybe you do. I don't want to obviously cause any conflict with you. What is your honest assessment and feeling of that situation? How it was handled and I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
First of all, with the Gregario thing, Greg, if you read further in the thread, I'm not sure if you got to it. Greg is still an active member on the site, and doesn't hold any sort of ill will or anything like that. He was an amazing NBG mod, actually. He was really good. I think Greg just felt the same as you did. He didn't feel that 2+2 was a place for a political, for it to take a political stance. I guess, if you look at, I'm sort of a left-wing liberal type person, so endorsing a conservative candidate on a site that I spend a lot of time with would bother me more than anybody. But to be honest, it doesn't bother me too much. I understand why Mason did it. He owns the site. I get that he can, decide that this is in the best interest of poker, and he feels that he has any kind of influence on the poker world through his site, that it's in poker and his benefits and poker benefits kind of converge, and poker players' benefits as well kind of converge when you find a candidate that is going to help bring legislation to the USA. Mason's obviously going to do much better with his website. Poker players are going to be able to play poker, and this guy gets votes or whatever. So I get why he did it. I wouldn't have done it if I owned the site, but it's not my site to do that with. So I don't really have any quarrel with what he did.
Okay, and yeah, I am going to ask you one other question, and please, again, don't think I'm putting you on the spot
Nope,
in
feel
any
free.
way, shape, or form. I'm going to hold my own interactions and reasons that go beyond even that of why I dislike him
Sure.
at this time.
I,
But being involved, living in Las Vegas, knowing a lot of people that have been in this industry way longer than I have, and I'm sure you as well, being in the industry, in terms of the negative things I've heard of other people's, and these are, the majority of them are very respected people telling me stories of their negative interactions with him over the years. And I know, as much as you've had some positive or maybe even all positive interactions with him, I know you've heard these stories as well, and I know that you would never sit here and say, just in terms of how the industry and just in general the majority of the poker community thinks upon him, and their feeling and opinion of him is not one of for lack of a better word, just held in a positive light. And I know you've heard the same grumblings and same comments and same things that I've had, because we do run around in the same circles, and we're part of the same industry. I mean, is that fair to say?
oh yeah, I think that's very fair to say. I think it goes back to how Mason deals with issues and interpersonal relationships, the way he is abrupt and brush. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say he's been, cheated anybody or.
No, that's never been. And I will say that right now, 100%, you're accurate. That's never been one of the things. It's always been from a personal standpoint, and how in interactions, interpersonal skills, and just dealing one-on-one with someone in ways without being dismissive of them, brushing them off, or just being what would be interpreted as being rude or pompous is, I guess, the best way to describe it.
I've heard all of that, and I don't, that's the way people can take him for sure. I think I've seen a different side of him than maybe some other people get to see, and having seen that, I don't know what to say. Obviously, he's very brash and has his ways with dealing with things that people get that opinion. That's just the way it is. But again, for somebody like Daniel to label him in the same sentence as somebody who ripped off the poker community for who knows how much money, I don't see the connection there. It doesn't. I understand that you can say, yeah, I don't get along with him. I think he's got a giant ego. I think he's rude, etc. But that's pretty far down the list on things that Daniel should be railing against, I think.
Yeah, I can understand your perspective as well. Johnny, do you have any commentary, or Kevin?
No, I think you've pretty much given your perspective on it.
And again, Adam, I highly respect you for coming on here, and just the way you've conducted yourself, and even in the beginning, even though it had nothing to do with you, to offer apologies and admit that the situation, was handled poorly, in regards to what we're doing now. And you're here, you see what we're doing. We weren't trying to, infiltrate 2+2 or do. I mean, what we're doing are the kinds of things that more people in poker should be doing.
Absolutely.
3 guys staying up for 50 hours, with users, with the user base that really doesn't even have a lot of money. We have college students that are donating $20, and I mean, these are the things. And again, it's not like we went to, news stations and tried to, make ourselves come off as, heroes. But, do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, you see what we're doing here, and it really just stinks that, and in fact, I don't even know how to look at it now, because, by Daniel calling him out and what happened, it ended up on Poker News and other sites, and that very well could have indeed brought more attention to this, instead of just letting us write about what we were doing as something that was at the very least newsworthy, because of the amount of guests and what we were doing. If he had such a problem in itself with us posting a charity, that, easily could have, if there were concerns about the legitimacy of it. And obviously, what really deeply disturbed me more than anything, and again, I did read the apology, I think it was yesterday, the mod. And, I've become very close and even more so Johnny with Joe, and I'm sorry, I keep forgetting how to pronounce his last name.
Ucello.
Yeah, Ucello, whose daughter has this disease and is involved in this. His wife is on the board, and this is something that is relatively new in terms of this foundation being created and just the research. I mean, 6 weeks ago, I had no idea, what this ailment was. And today, as you know, we had Ryan Dempster on. And for this guy, this mod, this professional poker, I believe his name is, to dig up the tax returns and to stay and be dismissive of the company and insult it like that to a father who has a daughter and that who also posts on 2+2. I mean, that it's despicable. And I read his apology, and you know what? I think I don't know him, so I can't sit here and I'm not going to pretend to act as if I know the kind of character that man has. But backed in that hole in the corner that he was in, I see he had no other choice but to handle that stuff. So I do have to be honest and tell you that I do question the sincerity in what he wrote. I mean, I have no way, I don't know him, and I just thinking from a logical standpoint, he was backed in a corner. He knew what he did just was despicable and was going to be interpreted as being that, and whether it was sincere or not, was forced to apologize. But that was really the icing on the cake that infuriated me more than any other part of this situation. Joe having to read that, a father that has it just. And I know you could understand that.
I agree. I think it was handled terribly. I couldn't agree with the sentiment more. However, I mean, the guy can't win if he's going to apologize and you're not going to accept it. I know we've had a lot of discussion in the mod forum about how to handle these things, and he's been apologetic of how he handled it. I think that it's just an unfortunate situation that happened. I know that he feels sorry about it, but I mean, it happened.
Adam, I have a question for you, actually, and I appreciate you offering up your insight and answering and not dodging any of the questions or anything. It's I respect that a lot. Does Mason Malmuth have any control over the content or guests that appear on your radio show?
He doesn't ever say you need to have this guest on, or else he'll suggest somebody like, Does he say that you cannot have this guest on? Does he say I can't have a guest on?
Yes.
I don't think he's ever said you can't have that person on. No.
Do you think that if you
propose to him having Todd Wattelis on, and then that'll be the first time you hear you can't have a guest on?
I'm curious. Do you have to have him approve your show, your production sheet before you go to studio and make it?
No, never.
Okay, so if you wanted to extend an invitation to somebody who might not see completely eye to eye with Mason, it wouldn't be an issue for you.
No, not that I can imagine. Why? Who did you have in mind?
I don't have anyone in mind. I'm just asking you the question. I'm just curious.
Well, I only made that comment because after, a number of people were banned for just being a part of other sites that he did not agree with. But even more so than that, someone that I do another radio show with, Todd Wattelis, when he made an appearance on 60 Minutes, Mason, and I believe it was on your show. I'm not sure at that point if you were hosting it, but I remember hearing it, in which he spoke of Todd and also spoke poorly of the site that you mentioned earlier. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe he would indeed.
He has that viewpoint of Donktown. I mean, I read Donktown. I listen to the show occasionally, or I have read Donktown. I mean, he gets barbecued constantly left and right. And a main member of that site at one point, cyber squatted a bunch of his names. I mean, you can understand why he has some sort of distaste for the website. Clearly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same point, you have to understand, and again, even before, and a lot of this goes back so many years, and it really, at this point, what we're doing, it's probably not worth getting into all that. But as much as you can see my views in a lot of ways, yes, I will concede I can understand as well from your perspective, and I'll even go as far as saying Masons. But I guess what it comes down to is, like you mentioned, it's his business. He has a right to, do anything as he pleases. But I think one of the main problems he has is if the rules that he had that were in place were enforced as consistently as possible without these, well, except for special circumstances or so on and so forth, it'd be a lot easier, and a lot of these situations wouldn't occur. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, though I was specifically not 100% sure what you're saying. I guess.
Well, I mean, it just seems to me that a lot of things aren't cut and dry, and there are exceptions made for certain people when there are exceptions not made for others. And if there was a clear set of rules and they were enforced just equally and unequivocally the same way, I think would alleviate a lot of these problems that constantly come up. Does that make sense any better?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think I would probably say that they are pretty cut and dry, except for the fact that Mason decided to endorse Gary Johnson. I think if you look at Daniel Negreanu getting banned, I mean, you guys have found out that he's the most known poker player in the world that endorses their site that has the most advertising on 2+2, and he banned him. So I'm not sure how more consistent he can be without, or not Mason banned him, but he was banned from the site. So I think the rules do apply to everybody, except for cases where Mason feels that it's in the best interest of his company and poker in general to endorse a candidate. Now, again, would I do it? Probably wouldn't have done it. But that's not really my call to make, right? So I mean, I know what you're saying, and I just I really kind of think Mason gets a bad rap. I understand why people are don't like him, or find him brash, egotistical, whatever. I get all that, but I just kind of feel like that gets overblown and made into something that really isn't sometimes.
Well, you know what? I do respect you even more so than before, and like I said, I don't believe we've ever talked for at least coming on here and talking openly and having a dialogue about this, and I thank you for doing that.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Adam. Thank you so much, buddy. We really appreciate you being on.
All right, later.
All right.